back to Cat and Cloud. Right now, I am in our admin space, which is attached to our roastery and is right next to our Swiss Street Cafe. Now, on a normal day, there's only a handful of people in here doing things like cuppings, meetings, and the usual phone call. But on Wednesdays, this space gets taken over by our retail leadership. When you think about a coffee shop, the most important things that come to mind would probably be quality of service, or how good the coffee tastes, maybe just how nice the space is. But what doesn't come to mind are things like the managers being attentive to their P&L, or the culture of the team members being really dialed in. Both what comes to mind and what doesn't are equally important, and there's no better example of that than Wednesdays, as the leaders of the cafes come together to work just as hard off the floor as everyone is working on the floor.
And lastly, I'd like to connect for any last-minute thoughts about huddles. I know all of you have sentiments, and I'd like to make time to address them all.
I think part of where my confusion and kind of like this feels like a lot right now is on the SOP it says that the intentions should relate to the store goal, but then I'm hearing that they can also relate to the passport, and then they also need to be directly related to the values. So it just like, in my brain, that feels like a lot for me to, before I even come into my shift, think about who I'm working with, think about their intentions for the day, be prepared to deliver that 6 a.m. So it's just like my personal, like, get over yourself, but
I have a suggestion for that. In our like one-on-one documents, we've started putting like wins and action items at the top, which is super helpful for one-on-ones. And then you have like an easy place to reference what everyone's working on and doing well at. And even just by like the act of creating that, I feel like I know my team better and can give them intentions related to their action items on the spot.
This is how our retail teams are structured. It starts with what we call a concierge, who is directly responsible for helping the guests that come in get what they need. From there, we have baristas who are responsible for crafting the beverage that those guests ordered. Beyond that, we have a support shift who sees what's most needed and keeps an eye on the overall guest experience at the moment. After that, you step into leadership, starting with the coordinator, who is in charge of the operations of the cafe. Things like orders, what's on hand, and training the rest of the team to do their day-to-day things. Above that is the team leader, who steps all the way back and looks at the big picture of the cafe, whether we're delivering on the promise that we've made to those guests and to the team as a whole. And on Wednesdays, those team leaders and coordinators for all the cafes come here to work on those details together, with Herman, our head of retail.
Let's talk about heat. Have we done a full review as a group about heat?
The way that I want to think about this is these are obvious. You sit in the cafe and you read these 4 bullet points, it's either happening or not.
What are your responsibilities?
Head of retail's responsibilities is retail as a whole, from guest experience and then helping guide and shape everything from training to bottom line to systems to make sure that it supports the guest experience we're trying to create.
What's it like working with people that might not have that experience in doing those things?
Difficult.
Why?
It takes a lot of patience.
Okay.
Okay, here's the thing. We don't usually hire, or in fact, I don't think we've ever hired someone who's not worked themselves up through concierge, barista, support, coordinator, then team leader. Every single person that we hire from within to be a manager is someone who we see excel at demonstrating the care and attention to our values, so much so that we feel they could be compasses for other people. Those specific things don't always express themselves as good communicators when it comes to delivering coaching, feedback. Excellent trainers for when you're talking about the how, the why, and how to express that. Those are all soft skills that they have to develop, even though that they're really good at expressing it themselves in their own unique way. Then they need to get trained on, okay, I do this because I understand the why, and I do it this way because this is the way it expresses itself true to me. how do I then take that, understand that, and teach someone else to do that as well? When you get young leaders, they're still thinking, if I do a really good job on the floor, people will be inspired to do the work that I do and then directly act on it. But that's not always true. It's true for them because they were really excited and tuned into our culture. But that didn't happen overnight or by accident. And it wasn't done by just leading by example, because not everyone, people are usually so focused on doing their own job at the best that they can, that it takes someone else reminding them of the levels that need to be achieved.
My texture is good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So to sum up what Herman is saying, we trust our retail leadership because they've already demonstrated that they understand the why and the what of the work that they do. And where they need help as young leaders is being able to take that understanding and teach it to others. For young leaders, it's great to have someone like Herman who is able to help you see and do more than you could on your own. But what's also great is to have perspective. The other thing that happens on Wednesdays, as the retail team leaders come together, supporting and learning at the same time. Hi.
Hi,
Who are you?
My name is Alyssa.
Yeah?
Yeah. I am the cafe team leader at Portola.
What's it been like to be a team leader?
It's been different for sure. I feel like the hardest thing for me was figuring out how to still have like control of the floor and like the cafe without actively being on the floor all the time. Because I've always been directed
Yeah.
and I've never had to do the directing.
Yeah.
I'm great at making ideas happen, but having to come up with the ideas, I was like, oh my God, it's me.
When you're in those situations being like, oh, I have to lead other people, what's it like to have others around you who are helping or like are in the same position as you?
Yeah. It's awesome, honestly, because I feel like you can always feel like you're on an island at each cafe alone. But when we come together on Wednesdays, it always reminds me that like we're all dealing with the same issues all the time.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be like resources or help wherever we have team leaders.
What's something that you didn't realize you had learned, you would learn from being a team leader?
I feel like the biggest thing I can take away is like the soft skills of having conversations with people that may not be, a great conversation. Like, I have to write you up, you were late.
Yeah.
Bad, like not bad feedback, but just more critical feedback.
Yeah. The harder feedback.
Exactly.
The
Which
stuff
is never,
people don't like to hear.
Yeah, so finding a way that you can, deliver the feedback, be honest to yourself and the situation that happened, but not make the team member necessarily feel the worst about themselves.
Sure.
And so it's like finding the dichotomy of like giving grace, but holding a standard
Yeah.
and letting people know like, I'm here to help you work towards this,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna like fully hold your hand. You gotta
You gotta
give
put
and
some.
take.
You gotta put some effort in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah!
My name's Thrasher. Remember that. That'd be great if he actually wasn't a team member.
All of this might be the norm or common practice, but by highlighting all of this work that our team is doing, I really want to speak to two different people. To store owners, train your team the best you can. Then trust them to make decisions. Yes, problems and mistakes will happen, and that's okay. The reality is that amazing things will happen when you create an environment for your team where they have the tools to grow and you support them when they're stuck. It's going to help you do more than you could on your own, and it gives those leaders the opportunity to grow. Now, to young leaders, people in positions where you have those extra layers of responsibility, really take this opportunity to heart and run with it. Ask all the questions and learn all you can. It's only going to help you if or when you move on to something else. I was a manager of a cafe once. I had the best intentions, but I had no clue what I was doing. And I wish that I could do it all over again, having this perspective in an environment like Wednesdays here in the admin space.
Everybody flipping the camera. marketing?
Is this marketing?